Yeah. Hi guys. Welcome to Compose Camp by GDSC India. This is just an info session for you guys to get introduced to what are we gonna do in the next month. So the camp started at 8th September and it's gonna go up till to 8th of October. And this is gonna be a brief session as to how we're gonna go forward with the sessions and everything. And yeah, so there's Hmm. Hmm. ठीक है. So let's start. So Compose Camp is basically there was a native way of developing apps before, and then there is now Compose Camp UI, which basically makes making your app UI much more simpler, and that is what we have to focus throughout the month. And yeah, some benefits of Jetpack Compose are it requires less code, it's intuitive, it accelerates development, it's powerful. So to summarize, basically earlier to develop apps we used to use XML files. Now, if you are familiar to web development before, you must know HTML files. So there is like a structure HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So HTML provides you a layout of your website. It tells you can use text boxes, you can use buttons, you can use, and it's gonna basically tell you how it's gonna look on the screen. But its attributes can be controlled by JavaScript. Similarly, for Android, we used to use and we still use that are XML files where you can define the UI. But with Jetpack Compose, you can create your UI purely with Kotlin. Kotlin is a programming language, and yeah, so we're gonna study that. That's the goal. There was an Android study jam before I think a few months back, before I think Solution Challenge, in which the main goal was to study how Android with Kotlin, and there I think you must have studied about XML and stuff. But here, what our focus is on Compose. In Compose terms, the Jetpack Compose UI, and a new way for to build your apps UI. And another thing, if you guys have doubts, you can send over chats, and you can basically doubts will be answered in the end of the session. And yeah, so there are two basically levels for you guys. So if you're a complete beginner, you don't have any programming experience. So for Kotlin, you can have basic. If you have done Java, I think college in second semester, you must have done Java. So Kotlin is like a modern version of Java, so it won't take you guys much time to switch to Kotlin. And even in this, for Android development, the Kotlin you'll need is I think till intermediate level. So concepts of object-oriented programming till that we can cover, and that would be enough for you to get started with Android development. And intermediate person would be those who already know uh, Kotlin and have some experience with Android development, and are new to how Compose works, how this new UI toolkit works. So there are going to be pathways for you to complete throughout this month. There would be videos, articles, code labs. So basically, Google will give you documentations and different resources for you to study this. And at the end, you will have to give a quiz and you will pass the pathway. And once you pass the pathway, you will earn digital badges. Now it's like a digital certificate. It's kind of like a skill badge, which you will get after completing each task. And yeah, so yeah, and you can add your badges to your Google developer profile, and most probably you can also add them to your LinkedIn. And you can share it very easily. So our teaching session will start from tomorrow, but before that, you guys should install Android Studio because that's going to be the main ideally we're going to work on, and it's preferred that you use that. It's very easy to load your templates and stuff for Android. So for the next session, what can you expect and what we'll learn tomorrow? I'll just give you tip of the iceberg. So we'll be doing. I'll show you Android Studio, how to set up Android Studio and setting up an emulator. So if you guys don't know what an emulator is, it's basically a virtual device for you to test your app on. You can also do that with a physical device. You can connect your phone to your laptops via USB cable and enable USB debugging. And that would be if you're a developer on your phone. It's a long process, but if you guys want to test your app via USB on your physical device, you can also do that. But it's better to use an emulator. It's very convenient. And with emulator, the best feature is you can use so many Android devices different. It can be TV, it can be watches, it can be phones. So many versions of Pixels you can use physically, sorry, virtually. You don't have to buy it to test your app. And second thing we're gonna cover is Kotlin. Kotlin will cover basics to intermediate level. Then we're gonna look upon how the apps were, um, how we used to make apps before Compose UI. So how we used to use XML files to develop your apps, how the layout was working, because it's I think it's crucial for you guys to know basics of XML, because even in Jetpack Compose UI there are some limitations, there are some animations, there are some scroll bars that are not yet added, and for that you need to use XML files. And so there's also this feature that I'll tell you in the teaching sessions elaborately, but your Compose UI code and your XML code can be converted into one another. So it's important for you to know basics of XML file. We are not gonna go deep dive, just basics. And then we're gonna start off with basics of Jetpack Compose UI. And lastly, we're gonna see how an app is published on the Play Store. And yeah, these are I think all the light topics you can cover for the first session. I mean, we'll cover in the next session. I'll teach you guys from tomorrow. And if you guys, so I have in this, I'll share this PPT on the group. So these are the topics that we'll cover tomorrow for Kotlin. These are like basics to intermediate. These are some of the topics we'll use for XML. These are the topics we'll cover in Jetpack Compose UI tomorrow. So it's, I mean, it's up to you guys if you want to prepare beforehand. It's all up to you. There's no worries. Even if you start from tomorrow with me, I'll try to explain it to you guys in layman terms. And so it's other thing. Today was our info session. It is ninth, and our first teaching session would be tomorrow, that is 10th. And following that, we'll have our second session on 16th, then 3rd, 17th, then 4th, 23rd. We have 8th of October to cover 4 sessions, and to for you guys to cover your tracks and everything. And yeah, thing is, yeah, so I'm in second year, so my minors are gonna start from 26. So that's why I shifted the second and third session on the same week. uh, I mean, I hope it's okay to you guys, and if we need some rescheduling, we'll see, but I think this is the schedule we're gonna follow for now. And I guess that was that, but I just wanted to show you guys a few things before we wrap up today's session. Just 1 second. I'll just share you this. Yeah. So this is a Kotlin playground, and for tomorrow's session, we can start our Kotlin journey in this web ideally. It's very easy to use. You can edit your code over here, and you can run your code. The terminal window will pop up. So once, even if you haven't installed Android Studio tomorrow, don't worry, we'll start Kotlin on this. And if you wanna have your Kotlin files organized in a good manner, you can use Android Studio, you can use VS Code. For VS Code, you'll have to install a Kotlin compiler. and add its paths. So if yeah, if a lot of you would want to use VS Code, I'll tell you guys how to add your paths to your environment variables and stuff that we can cover tomorrow. I just want to show you what resources we'll be using tomorrow. This is Kotlin Playground. You can just type play.kotlinlang.org or just type Kotlin Playground on your web browser, and you can easily use this. So secondly, we're gonna use, I'll show you, is Android Studio. I'll just share 1 second. So yeah, this is a basic. So this is just like a template from Android Studio itself. This is the Jetpack GUI what we'll be using, and to show you guys different starting me. Uh, and this is the emulator I was talking about. It's a virtual device where you can see your output of the code you're writing. And if you see, there are a lot of folders. We're going to talk about each of them tomorrow. But if you could see in this folder, the rest folder, there is no layout folder because the layout we make is in Kotlin itself. And if I show you this other project, this other like empty activity, the way we used to make apps, I'll just show you. Yeah. So this is how apps were used to make before Compose. These are the XML files I was talking about. You can see the design bit, you can see its code. So, and you can see in the rest folder, there is a layout folder, which was missing in the Compose project. So this is the main difference, and this is the main thing that we have to learn in during the session is the Compose UI. So yeah, I think that sums it up. 1 second. Yeah. Do you have a doubt? I think the hand has been raised. Parth is Joshi. Can unmute and if you have a doubt. Yeah, your hand is raised. You can unmute and ask your doubt. Else we can wrap up the meeting. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. And yeah. And one more thing, if you guys have doubts or anything for a session or anything, try communicating with me over email. I'll share my email on the group itself. And yeah, be better if you communicate with me via email. So I guess yeah, that sums it up. And if there are not any doubts, I'll see you guys tomorrow then.